I think it's gonna be the biggest fight in the history of boxing because everybody's gonna watch it. A new audience is gonna...
This matchup could go down as one of the biggest events in boxing history, drawing in not just hardcore fans, but a brand new audience as well. Ahead of the highly anticipated clash with Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez made one thing clear: fighters always have a hard time dealing with opponents who can switch stances.
Well, he's a great fighter, but if you look at his career, mention one elite fighter. I just say facts. I don't say anything like I'm lying or he faced maybe good fighters, but there's a difference between good fighters and elite.
Canelo Alvarez has admitted that taking on a fighter like Terence Crawford, who can seamlessly switch between southpaw and orthodox, brings a unique challenge to the ring. Still, he's confident that his experience and preparation will give him the edge. With the mega showdown set for September 13th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, streaming live on Netflix, the excitement is at an all-time high. Both camps are brimming with confidence, strategies, and bold predictions, making this one of the most talked about fights in recent memory.
Fighter, you know, he's respected. I'm a fan of Canelo, and like I said before, Canelo is the last of the great fighters that's available to fight. Canelo's at 168. It's a big task, but I'm always up for it. Big risk, big root.
Canelo Alvarez has dedicated much of his training camp to replicating Terence Crawford's elusive style. To prepare, he's brought in high-level sparring partners who can mimic Crawford's skill set. Among them is Jaron "Boots" Ennis, a fighter praised for his ability to switch stances fluidly and combine speed with sharp timing, qualities that mirror Crawford's approach. In addition, Canelo has sparred with undefeated Cuban middleweight Yoenlis Hernandez, whose mix of power and awkward rhythm adds another layer of preparation. By testing himself against these diverse styles, Canelo aims to be fully ready for the unique challenge Crawford presents.
Before, I think Canelo's last 3-4 fights, he just got up and got in shape. I think he just got up, got in shape, right? I think when he fought Munguia, he just had a normal camp. Let's make weight, let's hit the mids, let's hit the bag, let's do what he do. Berlanga, let's make weight, let's hit the bag, let's hit the mids, we're gonna do what he do. This fight, I don't think Canelo's just making weight, hitting the bag, hitting the mids.
For Canelo Alvarez, sparring has always been one of the most enjoyable parts of camp, where he thrives in those high-intensity gym sessions. He views these battles as essential, especially with an opponent as unpredictable as Terence Crawford. Over the years, Canelo has faced nearly every style imaginable. Yet Crawford brings something unique with his ability to switch stances seamlessly. Recognizing that this forces constant adjustments, Canelo made sure his sparring partners could replicate that challenge. His goal is to ensure that when fight night arrives, there are no surprises, only preparation.
Is pretty strong for his weight. How much do you think that strength is going to play a part in this fight?
I don't know, we'll see. But what I know is he's a good fighter, very smart fighter, and very disciplined. He needs to get credit for that, but I am too.
Are you looking for the knockout against Crawford?
I think every fighter is looking for that knockout. If they say no, they
Renowned. Trainer Robert Garcia, recently honored as the 2024 Trainer of the Year, called Canelo's decision to bring Jaron Ennis into camp a brilliant move. In Garcia's eyes, this choice shows that Alvarez is leaving nothing to chance and is pushing himself to reach peak condition. He explained that Ennis's style, rhythm, and ability to fight with equal comfort in both stances make him the closest mirror to what Crawford brings to the ring. With his athleticism, timing, and even similar physical build, Garcia believes Ennis provides the perfect preparation partner for such a massive showdown.
Paper, Canelo should win. Canelo's bigger and stronger. And if Canelo lands good punches, I think Canelo could hurt Crawford. Crawford's, first time in that division and jumping 2 divisions where he only had one fight at 154 and didn't look his best either. So there's a lot of questions, about that, and that's why a lot of people think Canelo is going to knock out Crawford, but I'm probably one of the only ones that I do give Crawford a chance. Yeah. I think Crawford could pull it off. Crawford is very talented. He's very fast. He's very smart in the ring. So I think a perfect fight, Crawford could pull off a decision.
Okay.
I think he could win a decision. I don't pick him. I wouldn't put my money on him winning because it's a very dangerous, risky fight, especially with Canelo being so strong. But Canelo's last few performances, he's looked slow, flat-footed, looking for one punch at a time. And if that's the Canelo that fights Crawford, Crawford could win.
While Robert Garcia ultimately leans toward Canelo because of his size and long experience at the elite level, he doesn't dismiss Crawford's chances. Garcia noted that in recent fights, Alvarez hasn't shown the same relentless pressure he once did, often fighting flat-footed and relying on single shots rather than fluid combinations. If that pattern continues, he believes Crawford's ring, IQ, and creativity could allow him to edge rounds and swing momentum his way. Still, when pressed to make a prediction, Garcia admits he would back the naturally bigger man, Canelo Alvarez.
Your thoughts on Canelo versus Crawford, highly anticipated fight, quickly approaching.
I know a lot of people are not very excited about that fight, and they think the size difference, huge difference. But Crawford's big, man. Crawford's a very strong fighter. He's a very smart fighter also. So look, the way Canelo's been fighting his last couple of fights, where he's just looking for one punch at a time and maybe not doing enough to hurt his opponents, maybe not doing enough to finish them off. I could see Crawford pulling it off.
Decision.
I think Crawford could pull off a decision because he's fast, he's smart, and he doesn't need to run. He could stay around Canelo and just pretty much focus on winning a decision. Because I don't think he could knock out Canelo, but he could definitely win a decision.
Not every voice in the boxing world is backing Canelo. Edgar Berlanga, who shared the ring with Alvarez and experienced his power directly, has leaned toward Crawford's chances. Though Berlanga was dropped in their fight, he managed to last the distance, giving him a deep appreciation of how punishing Canelo's shots can be. From his perspective, too many fighters enter the ring full of confidence, only to be worn down by Alvarez's steady, systematic style.
Well, he got to go in there, and he just got to fight him. You know what I'm saying? He got to go in there. I think Crawford just got to go in there and do what he got to do. You know what I'm saying? He got to just be Crawford, show his IQ, show him why he's a two-time undisputed, world champion, and go in there with confidence. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. There's a big weight difference, a big weight jump. That could be a difference in the fight. Because obviously, it's like me jumping up to heavyweight. Obviously, I'm a feel the power. I'm a feel that size difference, compared to my other fights. So I just think that he got to go in there and just be himself. And I said, if he loses, we'll just all know that, hey, he just jumped up 2 weight classes to be great. You know what I'm saying? It's not, he's testing himself. He's testing himself a great fighter. So, and I don't doubt him, I don't got no doubt in my mind. He's a 2-time undisputed world champion for a reason. So, and I don't think nothing's gonna phase him in that fight. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the power, maybe the size, you know what I'm saying? And Canelo, he's not knocking Canelo out. So, he just gotta go in there just IQ.
Would you lean towards Canelo still in that fight?
I got faith in him. I think Crawford could do it. You know what I'm saying? I think he could do it. Just like I said, just the size. The only that throws the fight off is the size and obviously the power, and Canelo's IQ too, because Canelo got IQ. You know what I'm saying? And Canelo fought a lot much bigger guys. So I know the Crawford's power ain't gonna phase him. I know Crawford's size ain't gonna phase him either. You know what I'm saying? So, but for me, I think it's a 50-50.
Not everyone is convinced that Terence Crawford holds a clear speed advantage in this matchup. Analyst Mike Coppinger pushed back on the idea that the smaller man is automatically quicker. While he admits Crawford has solid hand speed, he compared it to fighters like Ryan Garcia, who's known for blistering fast punches, and argued Crawford doesn't quite reach that level. In Coppinger's view, both Crawford and Canelo are sharp and athletic, but fans shouldn't expect Crawford to simply overwhelm Alvarez with raw speed. On the other hand, Tim Bradley highlighted a completely different edge Crawford brings into the ring: his remarkable ability to process information. Bradley described Crawford as having a near photographic memory, studying opponents carefully, recognizing patterns, and making adjustments within a round or two. He believes this unique skill allows Crawford to set traps and exploit weaknesses. Better than most fighters. For Bradley, that mental sharpness, not speed, could be the factor that tilts the fight in Crawford's favor.
Man, I was thinking, man, like, a lot of people is making a fuss about Crawford being out of the ring for over a year, you know. I'm not putting too much stock into that, man. I'm not really, you know, Floyd Mayweather's came back from after a year. Shoot, I remember John Jones, 3 years out of the game, you know. And I know it's a different sport, but it's still combat sports. 3 years out of the game, came back, faced the champion, beat him, beat the champion, you know. Crawford took the time to really build his body up, man, the way he needed to build it up. And I like his build because just looking at pictures and stuff like that, man, he put a lot of the weight on his legs, you know. That's going to help with stability. That's going to help with punching power. It's going to help with his ability to be able to take a shot, too. You know, he get razzled and dazzled in there for one of them big shots from Canelo. You know, he gonna have some stability. He gonna have a base to be able to keep himself, you know. So Crawford has been working for this for the last year. He's been building. If you know anything about Team Crawford, man, and just anything about Crawford in general, he's probably one of the most disciplined athletes in the entire world. You know, he's a guy that stays in the gym year round, you know. Never dull, you know. Another guy was Booth. Booth stays in the gym quite a bit too. He does, you know. I hear that from everybody. He's always in the gym. Crawford's the same way. He's a gym rat. Stays in the gym, always constantly doing something, you know, sharpening his tools, you know, working on his craft all the time, keeping a good weight, you know. Crawford, in between camps, you know, he'll probably go up about 20-something pounds, you know, but it don't look bad on him. You know, it doesn't look bad on him. You know, when I had ran into him earlier, before this fight even was announced, you know, I would ask him, like, how much you weigh? About 175. Not crazy, you know, not crazy. Nah, but he still looked good. It was a 175 in shape. It was a 175 in shape. Like, this dude can go run up and down the court, play basketball, you know. He can go out there and play football if he wanted to go play football, you know. Like, he's an athlete, a natural athlete, man.
Despite the admiration surrounding Terence Crawford, not everyone is convinced he can topple Canelo Alvarez. Legendary heavyweight Mike Tyson has often praised Crawford's sharp mind and ability to adjust mid-fight, but he believes size will ultimately play the biggest role. Tyson admitted that if it came down strictly to skill, Crawford might very well edge the contest. However, boxing isn't fought on technique alone. Physical attributes matter. While Tyson personally hopes Crawford can pull it off, he feels the climb against a naturally bigger opponent like Canelo could be an uphill battle.
I don't like that fight.
Why not?
I don't like that fight. It's just too much weight, you know, and he had a close fight with the last guy he fought, Terence, because this guy was big and he was awkward. He was really awkward. He shouldn't have fought that guy. He should have fought a guy that would just come straight at him. The guy was too awkward.
He's herky-jerky. Yeah.
Former middleweight champion Kelly Pavlik voiced similar doubts about Crawford's chances. He pointed out that Canelo Alvarez has already tested himself against and defeated naturally bigger opponents, even moving up to light heavyweight in the past. Crawford, meanwhile, has never competed at super middleweight, which Pavlik believes creates a significant gap in experience. In his view, no matter how refined Crawford's skills are, the size and weight difference could prove to be too much to overcome.
Look, I like betting fights or making picks, and I'm usually pretty good on all my picks, even when I had the podcast. But sometimes, because people look for that fighter, that former world champion, and they like want to pick them apart if they get it wrong. This is one of the fights where I want to sit back and watch and not worry about my pick. Canelo is a small middleweight, super middleweight. He just is. But he's also showed that he could go up in weight class, and he's a great fighter. I mean, that's it. Crawford is so talented. He's got so much ability in boxing, his boxing ability. And he's a bigger guy, too. He's almost every bit as big as Canelo, right? So that's what makes it tough. Like, yeah, Canelo's used to fighting guys coming down from 200, probably, you know, at light heavyweight. And Crawford ain't. but it's just too hard to pick on that because of Crawford's ability and boxing skills. I'm not going off of Canelo's last fight. You know, the guy he was fighting was in survival mode pretty much. He was just fighting not to get knocked out. When you fight a guy like that, you're not going to look good, right? I don't care what anybody says. When you fight a guy that's running around trying to survive, it makes it hard. So I don't go off of that, but this fight is going to be interesting. I mean, I would almost have to kind of lean with Canelo, but I'm not making that pick. Just saying, guys, so nobody come at me.
Regis Prograis shared his perspective as well, suggesting that Crawford could lose some of his trademark strengths by moving up in weight. He explained that the speed, timing, and power that made Crawford so effective in the lower divisions may not carry over as strongly against a naturally larger fighter like Canelo Alvarez. Prograis noted that Canelo has already proven he can withstand both power and skill when facing names like Gennady Golovkin and Sergey Kovalev. In his view, the gap in size and physicality could simply be too much for Crawford to overcome.
I think that Crawford has the ability to outbox Canelo. You gotta look at it. And then Canelo's older. Crawford has the ability, but he's small, you know, and he can look bigger in. Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always a difference. When you get that fight with somebody, you can tell. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel fought him, the twin. He fought Crawford, and in all the stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conference, Jamel looked like the bigger man. You know, his head, his neck, everything looked bigger. But when they got in the fight, you can tell. You can see who really was the bigger man. And I think that's the same thing. Crawford is putting on weight, but it's not weight. Like Canelo had the weight already. He doesn't have to put on muscle. He doesn't have to do that. He's already big like that. But I think that Crawford does have the style. He does have the style to beat him. If you look at the people that beat him or gave troubles, Irislan, De Lara, Austin Trout, Floyd, and Bivol, you know, they gave him trouble and stuff like that. And Skull moved around a little bit too. So I think that Crawford has that. But I don't know how Crawford is going to respond when he gets hit. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel was undisputed at 154, and Canelo hit him and shit. Jamel was like, hell no. Jamel took a knee, you know. So it's a big difference. And Crawford had that one fight at 154, and he didn't, you know, Madrimov would touch him up a little bit. And this is nowhere close to Madrimov. You talk about Canelo. Now, if it was just another bigger guy, I would go with Crawford. But you talk about a great. This might be. I mean, people might kill me for it, but well, not really. But this might be the best Mexican fighter ever. One of them, at least. Right?
On the other hand, former heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz took a more measured stance. He acknowledged that Canelo's power and physicality remain a serious factor, but also pointed out that Alvarez has shown vulnerability when facing southpaws in the past. Since Crawford can switch seamlessly into a southpaw stance, Ruiz believes this could create opportunities for him. Still, Ruiz stopped short of making a firm prediction, saying the matchup is simply too close to call. In his eyes, both fighters carry unique tools that could ultimately tip the balance on fight night.
I know that if you were in a Canelo Crawford card, that card would be a million times. It's still an amazing card, but you would have added a lot. Who wins, Canelo or Crawford?
I think it's gonna be a good fight, man. I'm going for Canelo, of course. You know, he's the Mexican warrior as well. And for Crawford, man, you can't neglect him or you can't underestimate him as well. You know, he has a lot of skills, a lot of movement. He's a lefty as well. That's what Canelo has struggled with. I think it's gonna be an amazing fight, man. I just can't wait, and the best man wins.
In the end, the boxing world remains divided. Some argue that Canelo's size, power, and proven track record at higher divisions will give him the edge. Others believe Crawford's brilliance, adaptability, and ability to break opponents down mentally and physically could carry him to victory. Both men enter the ring with iconic resumes, neither having ever been knocked down, which raises the stakes even higher. Canelo has called this one of the most important fights in boxing history, and with good reason. For him, it's about defending his throne and proving that no matter the challenge, he's still the king. For Crawford, it's about shocking the world, making history as the first fighter to claim undisputed titles in 3 divisions, and doing so by toppling one of the sport's most dominant champions. One thing is certain, September 13th is not just another payday fight. It's a night where legacies will be defined and history will be written.